Welcome to Vlog Thursday number 410. Wow, that's a number. And I say that each time. It gets funny that just how big the number is getting. I've been doing this so consistently for so long. I know some are shorter, some are longer. Generally speaking, I should probably pull a graph on this. Are they longer during the winter? I suspect yes, because it is not winter really, but it's cold, wet, and rainy outside, and I would rather be inside. Matter of fact, I did a really long live stream with my friend Jeff from Craft Computing. So go check out Craft Computing's channel. And I was part of yesterday's live stream. If you want to see me and Jeff kind of, go on for quite a while about all kinds of topics, bringing me all the way over to here. And I did just drop a video I've been working on for a while. It was part of a talk I did, so check that out. It's a video breaking down some of the security tools, and too long didn't watch, just run them all. That's my answer. But if you want to know what run them all means and what that looks like, well, watch the video. So you'll find that. I published it about 15-20 minutes ago, so that's pretty fun. And I got a new sponsor, and I want to thank them. We got Micro Center sponsoring, and this is cool. So it was kind of a weird one. They reached out and were like, hey, they want to sponsor your channel. And I'm like, hey, this is actually coming from Micro Center. So we engaged with them. We're excited because I've been going there for a long time. And so it's a little bit of a geek in me that always likes wandering around there. My wife is always less than thrilled if I see it going, because it's not far from me. We're going down our freeway. I'm like, honey, can we stop in there for a minute? She goes, it's never a minute. But I was wandering the aisles there just the other day. I got some project videos they're going to help me with. I think they're a great sponsor because that way, if I do the project video on something, other than you can buy this hardware from Micro Center, it's not biasing the project at all. So that's kind of what I was looking for, a good alignment with them. I did try driving a race car. That didn't go well at all. The race car simulator is amazing. I kind of think there may be one of those in my future. I don't know. I'll have to think about it, but that was definitely a lot of fun. I did pick up a Raspberry Pi 5 because that's going to be one of the projects I have coming up with there. So it's not assembled yet. It's just boxed. So it's got the signature thing you get from Micro Center. I like that the guys put the stickers on things to let you know which person helped you. So the team there was great. Thank you, Micro Center. You're going to see some videos with them. I imagine a lot of you like Micro Center as well. It's always a popular topic on like their Homelab, and there's just so much when you look at it tangibly. It's not just like shopping online, which a lot of us do, but when you go there and go ooh and look at all the places, it just makes it a lot of fun. It was funny because unannounced, one of my other good friends just messaged me. He's building 2 new gaming systems for the winter for him and his wife. And that's where he's going as Micro Center. I'm like, hey, they're my new sponsor. So thanks for Micro Center. All right. Am I going to Ohio Linux Festival? I think that's this weekend, isn't it? So probably not. I am going to be at MISEC, but I don't think I got time to be at Ohio Linux Fest. When is it? Looking it up here, I should have that information because that's the OLF. Let me share that on screen right here. November 15th. So no, because that's tomorrow. I won't be there tomorrow. So that's I have meetings and everything else. So unfortunately, I will not be there. I had to try to figure out because I've done so much traveling. Next year probably will do more Linux conferences. This year, things got a little tight for scheduling. And because I'll be next week at the MISEC conference, so that is where you're going to find me next week on November 22nd in Lansing. There's some trade-offs I had to make. Being gone every weekend at some point is kind of exhausting. For those of you that maybe didn't see, was it last stream or the stream before? I'm just going to show a picture of it. Essentially what's going on is I've been doing a lot of logging. So this has occupied a few of my weekends. And so we have to do it this weekend. I think will be the last one to finish the disaster that is this. You can see all the wood in the background. So I got to finish chopping all that up. So while I've been doing videos about logging, I've been physically logging, and that's going to keep me from going to those other ones. But self-hosted Homelab Q&A. Let's see. Let's jump backwards here. Make sure I got everyone's comments all caught up here. Tom, did the process for adding a drive to a VM change in XCP3 like PCA update, or does your video still show the best way? You're talking about like doing a drive as pass through. Probably that hasn't changed. It's such a rare thing. Someone had asked for it, and I did the older video on how to do it, but I don't know if it's any different 8.3 because that's not a production use case where we pass drives through very often. Also, the new Zen API is going to be updating the speed and lots of enhancements to the storage, including some of the limitations of how much you can store. Therefore, yeah, I don't. Maybe I'll do another video on it if there's enough demand. Post in your forums to confirm, or just go through my video and see if it works. Update on Greylog and TrueNAS. I asked about it last stream. I got it working after almost 2 weeks of trying. The issue was between the keyboard and the chair. All right. Yeah, I want to get back to that topic of playing with the way you can do dockage in there, because I want to move my Greylog over to running it on TrueNAS. I think that'd be a better way to run it. So it's on my to-do list because I just finished updating the last of my TrueNAS servers, so 100% of them are on the new version. And now they're on the new version. That's one of the things I want to do is what else can I run in just pure Docker on there? And Greylog seems like a pretty ideal one. So I'm happy to hear that got worked out for you. Columbus native MSP Micro Center is baller. You're not wrong. It is great. Who got to deal with Microsoft pushing server 22, 20 server upgrade? That means you must run, I don't know how to say it. Is it Heimdall or Hemidall? However you pronounce it. My understanding was, and maybe there's other ones on there, but I thought that was the common underlying factor. It's a Microsoft problem, but I think the problem was also specific to the vendor being misinformed about how that worked. I have not had a chance yet. We're building the new lab. So yes, I'll probably do it in the new lab. I was going to do it today actually. And then I said, I want to finish this other video, and the other video will take me only a little bit of time. It always takes me way more time. I should know better. After making several thousand, literally, I got over 2,000 videos I've published. I've actually redacted some of them because they got old and were replaced by newer versions. But you would think I'd learn of how long it actually takes me to get something done when it comes to like an in-depth tutorial. But I have not learned my lesson. Therefore, I did not do the upgrade. But there's a chance that by the end of the night, I can't do it on a live stream because it'll kill my internet. I may update one of my firewalls to the latest version because that sounds fun. Let's see. Yeah, firewall is not supposed to be literal. But it is fun because we did make a big wall of fire. So this is another view of it. There's my neighbor. Me and him been working in the backyard just doing this, and we just kept all the log stuff that's kind of like if they don't fit well, we burned it. So yeah, we had a big fire wall. Do you know of any clients that are running ExoStore? So I've talked to people that are, but they're not directly any of my clients. So I know people that run it. We don't run it. I've talked about it. I think hyper-converged sometimes is over pushed. There's some performance benefits to doing it the way I've talked about, where you have a dedicated storage server. So that's usually the way we push for, rather than hyper-converged, because it's just really good performance you can get out of it. But it's on my to-do list to test their new hyper-converged. I'm waiting though, because it's only in beta in 8.3. So 8.2 is not out of support yet. 8.3 only came out here in November. And officially, even though you can load it, their Exo store isn't going to be in full support maybe December or January, but you have plenty of time because like 8.2 is not end of life yet. But yeah, I haven't spent much time with it. I know people just seem to get overly excited. Maybe there's something wrong in my head that I'm not super excited about hyperconverge. I've set it up before, even like with Proxmox, but I'm like, the performance issues is why I'm not a huge fan of it usually. TrueNAS CFS, I have one Ironwolf SATA HD currently. Would there be any issue adding an Exo SAS drive to the pool to mirror the single drive? I don't know if you have a single drive, how easy it is to set it up as a mirror. Usually you start with at least 2 drives and go from there. So I'm not sure. I've actually never tried to add a single drive have a single drive system and add a single drive to it. Most of the time it's at least, 3 drives that you're setting up with ZFS, mostly more, but yeah. Do you know PSNs will be supporting Marvel NICs anytime soon? So they posted a new video today, said they're shiny new, but compatibility issues. I don't have that answer. Probably post in their forums. They're the ones that write a lot of the drivers because Netgate employs people on the FreeBSD team, and they're the ones that if it doesn't exist in FreeBSD, if it's going to exist, the likelihood is going to be that the people over at Netgate will be the ones pushing that forward. Oh no, I'm not worried about IPv6. Dedupe, as far as I know, Dedupe is fully supported, and we can pull it up here. But I don't know why you wouldn't think Dedupe is supported. Matter of fact, they have a new enhanced version of Dedupe. So let's log into our system. I have a lot of passwords. Well, not really a lot. I have a long master, a lot of words in my master password, and then security thing I had to do. So view on StreamYard, drop it in here. Data set. Do I have a test data set somewhere? Tom test. There we go. Perfect. Data details, advanced. Where is that at? Yeah, ZFS deduplication right there. So make it bigger. So dedupe is supported. I'm not sure why you don't think it is. Your storage faster is safer. See, this is where people have a hard time realizing that the reason hyper-converged is not going to be as fast for every hyper-converged write. If I want that commit, and this is similar to the challenges you face with Ceph. If you want it replicated across multiple machines, that means that write has to hit here and can't be released until it's on all the systems. The bottlenecks you have can be the interconnects between these systems for the replication. This is one of the reasons that for the high performance setups, they're not hyper-converged. They're dedicated storage, such as a TrueNAS box. I remember the HA video I just did on how TrueNAS high availability works. One of the things I commented is why we still sell that, because people go, well, why would you sell a high availability single NAS type system, Tom? I mean, why wouldn't you just go hyper-converged? That's the future, isn't it? Well, no, and it's because of performance problems. Yeah, so that's maybe a problem you're running into. Also, from a storage design perspective, what if you're running a database, and this isn't Graylog's an easy example. When I have Graylog boot, the VM is really small because the VM boots and mounts all of its data points. So it mounts where all the data is going to be written. This is the solution to the writing, especially writing in a VM. Once you virtualize the storage, you're adding layers of complexity to it. So the goal is always to not do that. I have a whole video on storage design where this is a discussion as well. And that's why that's a discussion, is because the storage design and architecture should not be, let's stick it all in a VM. It's more like, hey, these databases should be writing to a share that the VMs boot up, mount the share. It's also separating your compute versus your data plane. That's a good thing because it allows you to treat, as the term and phrasing goes, all those different compute modules as essentially cattle. This is how like Docker, if you're setting up Docker or Kubernetes, this is methodologies, but it works just as well for virtual machines for doing it. And it's how you get around some of those issues. Have you ever had clients that use Pure Storage or IBM? One of my friends runs Pure Storage, and his experiences with it, and it's a very big enterprise company, has been pure pain. He's kind of called it. I don't think he likes to support people very well. But then we had another person. They said it just works like magic. They kind of set it and forget it. But they're also, my friend has the system at their company. The other company who seems to like it has their storage as a service plan. That's expensive, but maybe that's why they have a better experience. I've never used it much directly. We've had sometimes where we set something up and we attach to it, but we're not servicing it. We're just like, here's the share. Here's the point this at that share, usually like an NFS or iSCSI setup. I'm looking for a small network switch that I could set up in an outdoor box that takes in SMF because the router is 300 feet away and has built-in PoE for cameras. Takes in SMF. And you need something that has PoE. How small? So it's got, I'm trying to think of who has one like that. I'm really not sure. Maybe MikroTik might fit the bill. I think UniFi has a few that has the fiber on there. So I'm trying to think of which, I'd have to look up which models. Has built-in PoE for cameras. I mean, I'm very partial to the UniFi because they're really easy to manage. I'm less partial to the MikroTik because they're not well documented and kind of quirky, but they fit the price bill. So it's that price. But thank you very much for a donation. Hopefully, I would stick with one of those two options. Go to the UniFi store, see which ones have on there. They have filters, and the same thing with the MikroTik ones. MikroTik also makes some industrial ones, so that may be something that's more fitting for that because it's going to be outdoor. But UniFi has a couple outdoor ones as well. Hopefully that helps. Any recommendation on mini PCs that you can add 2.5-inch hard drive inside? Most of the ones seem to be moving towards NVMe. So I'm not sure which ones support 2.5. Maybe the mini forums has some. So but NVMEs are so cheap now. I don't know what the advantage is of putting an SSD in there. So probably there's probably some options out there. I don't know how long they're going to be popular for. Let's see. Hi, Tom. Can you set up XCPD on a single server with internal hard drives as ZFS? Absolutely, you can. That works perfectly fine. Matter of fact, we'll pull mine up real quick here. I did a ZFS video recently, so how to set up the ZFS is a video I already have. And if you look at this particular server under storage, there's a local ZFS store on an R740. Matter of fact, this is, if you watch the video, there's two videos I did. One, how to set up ZFS on XCP&G, and two, I did a video on this R740 lab server. So that will cover both. Absolutely. It's a single server with NVMEs in it, 12 of them to be exact. And so I have 7.85 terabytes of NVMe ZFS storage on there. So absolutely that works. Good afternoon, Cody. Cody, man, you got to come hang out sometime. I was just thinking about that. I'm like, we've met twice and always had a good time. So now Cody's got, at some point will wander his way over here to Michigan. We'll go hang out and do stuff. Maybe we'll come and record a video together. I probably should reach out to you, Cody, because I have some UniFi stuff that I'm getting, and I figure we should probably trade notes along with a few other of us UniFi folks, because I feel confident you are getting these new things that haven't been released yet as well, that will be announced soon. So that's there's some new fun things coming from UniFi. IBM is using other private internet stack protocols. I don't know. I'll assume IBM is using IPv4 and IPv6. Maybe I don't understand the question. Ooh, are you still using a mix of Sentinel-1 and Huntress, the security tooling? It's not a mix. We use Sentinel-1 and Huntress. Like, that's what we have deployed. Threat Locker, I don't hate it, but I don't use it. I like the concept of allow listing, like only certain applications are running. Everyone I've talked to in the real world, once you get beyond sales, if you have a lot of custom applications, it seems to be one of those tools that has trouble with applications and can cause some slowdowns. If you have a lot of standardized applications, it works better. The manufacturing world we're in lends it more towards the custom applications. So I'm mixed on that. I've had people tell me, even in the accounting space, it became something they just couldn't manage anymore. Like, they had it across their client base, but like their accounting was an example. Like, accountants, they just took it off because it was too much of a headache over time. That's my feedback I've got directly from people. This is not from me. So I don't have any more opinion on that. I'm not going to say MakerTech is very well documented. I think it's somewhere in between. You can usually Google your way through it and find a lot of forum posts, but I kind of feel, and maybe I'm not up to date with my MakerTechs. I haven't really messed with it in a while, but when I started getting into and looking at some of the MakerTech stuff, I just felt like some of the documentation was a little lacking. But then again, it may have gotten better because I haven't looked at it. So yeah, I don't know. Higher learning curve for sure. I mean, there's a lot of cool things that MakerTech does that I'm really impressed with. Setting up MakerTech wireless bridge for $100, it's excellent. The pricing on MakerTech is killer. There's the reason they're popular is not because they're easy, but because they're cheap. I've been considering upgrading my Synology. Too slow for Graylog for Homelab. What's it good without breaking a bank fast enough for Graylog and do lots of logging? I mean, Synology can be fast enough if you put, spinning, kick out the spinning rust and get some flash drives in there. If not, TrueNAS is definitely ZFS is built, can be. It doesn't magically become performant, but either a higher end Synology is going to be more performant, or if you have a good TrueNAS setup, it can be quite performant. Do you know how many words I've used today? I'm messing a few of them up here. Oh man. MakerTech is different, but not difficult, or the documentation is very robust. Okay, more so than UniFi's documents. Router OS can be intimidating, but you essentially are creating a single bridge. Fair. Maybe I should take a look at them again. I do know, and I'll see if Jason wants to come on and do a video about this. We did some work with fs.com, and I think he found them a little bit buggy, and he was directly setting them up, and I said maybe we should put a video together, share some opinions on it after doing deploying several of them for a client. So yeah. Cody says, I'd love to come that way. Jay keeps saying to come down there. Heading to Costa Rica tomorrow. Awesome. Yeah, for sure. You got, okay. So you're like me. You got the new things. So the new fancy things. It's exciting. Cisco versus UniFi. Well, it depends which model Cisco you're asking about. There's a lot of features that UniFi has that are really good, but if you have some very specific feature that only Cisco or other high-end switches, that it comes on, I base it all on requirements. Let's start there. I did my video on whether or not it's enterprise ready. So whether or not UniFi can work in the enterprise. There's always people going, but it doesn't support insert name of very specific feature that they needed. Well, then you're going to have to use a different switch because UniFi doesn't support that. So it's not about versus, it's first use case. And from a reliability standpoint, like let's say my use case is I want to run some PoE cameras. I got no complaints at all about the UniFi platform for that. I've been running many of these switches in that environment. Switching works fine. PoE works fine. We've got them deployed in warehouses, running hundreds of Wi-Fi access points. No issues there. So it kind of depends on use case. If there's something specific though that you want that's in a Cisco, yeah, then maybe you want to go with Cisco. Just quality of turns on and works. Yeah, they're both good for that. Are you installing software on customers' clients via WSAD or using our tool? A lot of our software installs are done through a tool called Emibot. So if you reach out to Emibot, tell Tara and Darren I said hi. Say Lawrence Systems sent you. But Emibot, IMMYBOT is a pretty cool tool. Here, I'll pull up their website real quick, just so people know the. There you go. I just wanted to make sure I always it's Emmy.bot. So for anyone wondering. About this 100 response, we're drowning in noise from Sentinel-1 and drowning in issues downloaded rogue browsers, trying to get ahead of the whole. We're looking at Threat Locker. You are doing something wrong if you have that many users clicking on that many things. The security tools are going to alert because someone's doing it. I don't know what you're doing that you have users. I mean, we have like 70 businesses we're managing, and we're not drowning in the noise of daily alerts. Try to figure out exactly why your users are drowning you in those problems. That might be the first issue, because you can only do so much. And all you do next is now you have a bunch of issues in Threat Locker going, hey, look, they tried to run a thing. And before you solve the noise problem and look at the noise problem before you decide another tool is the answer. Just my 2 cents on that. Yes, FS switches are very inconsistent. That's a good way to describe it. Hello from Sydney. Awesome. Awesome. Glad Emibot can help. Hello, neighbor. Are you a fellow Michigander? That's pretty cool if you are. It's, there's not for all the people that join my stream, there's a pretty small number of them that say they're from Michigan. So kind of random there. I used Ubiquiti 10 years ago. Wi-Fi was buggy. My standard is set it and forget it. I've not had any issues with it. Even, 10 years ago, maybe, I don't know, 2014, those were the early days of deployments, but we've been deploying them for a long time. I think the controller might have been a little bit, well, not as mature as it is now. That would have been, I can't remember what version it would have been back then, but definitely the controller is light years ahead of where it was. Matter of fact, for home users, I think Ubiquiti is like my favorite set it and forget it. Their auto updates, like even my kids at their houses, I set them up with like Ubiquiti access points, and one of the Ubiquiti, the small little devices, like I think it's called the Cloud Max, just works. And it doesn't have any headaches. Okay, Trenton. Trenton's awesome, right? That is my neighbor. How are you getting 10 gig in Trenton? Tell me the secrets here. Feel free to email me on that one, because that's cool that you have that available. I don't think that's available here in Southgate. So cool that you have that. So awesome. I have 2 drives in TrueNAS mirror. Will read-write speeds double of that of single? No. If it's a mirror, it's going to write to the same drives at the same time. So you're not going to get a doubling speed. Run a data center out of the house. That is awesome. I love hearing that. So reach out sometime. I don't mind meeting local people that are as nerdy as me. I mostly talk to people online. I don't mind sometimes when I find someone going, hey, you want to see the, some type of cool data center project going on locally. So yeah, feel free to ping me, man. Yeah. UniFi feels like they're in a total sprint right now because it is way faster development. I see. I think it's just they have the resources to it. For those that don't know, here, someone will look it up. So I'm not going to ask this question. What do you think Ubiquiti? So I mean, I could ask the question anyways, but do people really realize where Ubiquiti's stock price is at right now? Like their market cap? I know market cap is like, speculative value of a company, but the numbers they're playing with, I mean, it kind of shows their position in the market. I mean, their market cap now broke $20 billion. That's pretty big for a networking company. So I'm impressed with that. Hi, new to Homelab, getting high IO delay averages, copying files from SMB, share, and Proxmox, ZFS, LZ4 hubs when copying. It gives issues, what to look for a solution. It comes down to what drives you're using, and are you using Ceph, for example? So, LXE, I see ZFS in there, LZ4. If you're using consumer drives, they don't have the same IOQ depth, so you can get some delays in there. I would need to know a little bit more details about it, how fast it is. You can also go in the back end and just run HTOP and start looking at where those are. There's also another tool called IOTOP you can run and try to figure out where things are hanging up on the back end and figure out where the pausing is. Enterprise AT&T fiber, cool. Good morning from the Netherlands. Awesome. Oh, 1:30 a.m. So kind of bedtime in the Netherlands for you, but I'm glad you're here. I find UniFi quite inconsistent. Their control layout functions have been improved amazingly since the first versions, though. Yeah, there's so much that goes into UI design. If you've ever sat in a meeting and done UI design, there's a lot of opinions that go back and forth. So it's amazing it happens sometimes. Is there software you recommend that would protect against phishing links? Yes, training. Training. I mean, in terms of getting the phishing links, yeah, you're going to want whatever. And I don't know that any of them are great. We use Mimecast ourselves. This is not an endorsement specifically for Mimecast because I think all of them suck. We think Mimecast sucks the least right now. That's why we use it. It's so many products in the tech space are driven by least suck, not quality. So yeah, spam filtering helps. User training helps a lot more. And we use a company called Phin for that. Phin has been, let me find their website. Why is things going slow? There we go. But I'll drop their name in here. Full disclosure, my reason for recommending Phin is not just because I like them. I'm also an investor in their company. So, but I do use their product. We use it across all of for all of our training internally and for our clients. But yeah, Phin's pretty cool company for doing user training. You know what? Here's the weird thing. I guess I promote things because I invested in them, but also I invested in them because I think they're a good company. So there's the full circle. Take that for what it's worth. I noticed UniFi are launching some new enterprise 100 gig switches. That is true. You are correct about that. Matter of fact, let's go ahead and talk about the UniFi 100 gig switches. And look, they have MC lag. And look, Tom has them. Yeah, I've been testing these out. They're pretty cool. Definitely a pretty cool switch. Yep, Phin for training. Let's see. UniFi had me sold when I inherited a one-man team for a small food plant. It was easy to manage for a new guy back then. Even played well with the Cisco switches. Oh yeah, they're all standards based, and that's on my to-do list is to kind of show how VLANs work across several switches. They do. I'm going to use a Ultra Labs switch, a UniFi switch, a MikroTik probably. I don't know. I'll play with a handful of switches and kind of show how you can pass VLANs between all of them and what needs to be configured. I want to set up some networks that emulate being connected to the internet. Any idea how I could add simulated latency constraints of bandwidth between routers? Now, there's actually an option in pfSense for this. This is interesting. I used it in one of my videos I did last year or maybe earlier this year, where I was simulating latency. When you build a firewall rule inside of pfSense, let's go ahead and just find a rule so I can scroll down to it. Whoops, that is not what I wanted. 1 second. Wait until I can pull something up that's not. There you go. So share this tab. And we go down here. One of the things you can set under the advanced rules in pfSense is, where's that option at? Disable reply to states connection rate. There is actually an option in here to create the latency. I'm trying to remember where that is. I hear if you got to do it through a pipe. Maybe you got to do it through a pipe. There's some instructions inside there to do it, but it's kind of novel that it's got that as an option. Where did that go? State timeout, connection rate. I'm in the wrong rule spot. But there's an option. It's not something you go to. There's not often you want to create latency, but there are some ways to do that essentially. Send me an email, bring a contact link on your website. I've enjoyed PSN videos. We move 18 to terabyte streaming traffic out of our DC area. That is amazing. Yeah, I'll let me see. Where did you send it? Make sure I got it. Okay, I got it. I'll message you back. Yep. It is where that data goes. What do you think of MikroTik for SMB over NetGate with pfSense? I don't think I would use it for their firewalls. But I've not used enough MikroTik firewalls. I don't know. I'm so partial to pfSense and how easy it is to use. I don't think I'd have an interest in switching over to MikroTik to it. 100 gig, no one will ever need more than 64K. Yeah. We have 44 UniFi sites, just short over 400 UniFi UISPs maintained all over the USA. That's awesome. I am looking at the Wireless Bridge Pro from UI to link up some cameras back to my property. I have them. I haven't tested them, but I would say DPC Technology did, and you already know that. So definitely check out his videos on that. Will the Switch video incorporate Auvik? Probably not. I don't feel like advertising. Well, I don't know. Maybe Auvik will sponsor a video, and I will do a video on it. Auvik being a commercial product, I probably won't do a video for free on it. Huh. So something happened to Cloudflare. Interesting. Strange bitrate issues. Yeah, occasionally that does happen. Cool to reach out. Just wanted to say thanks. That is awesome. Oh, I'll ping you. I'm interested in what you guys got going on. It sounds interesting. So they said MikroTik is good for a router, for a firewall is not competitive to modern firewalls. Yeah, I've not got enough experience. I don't really see many people even suggesting MikroTik for firewalls. Like for switching, I see a lot of people talking about them. And I know they're used a lot in the WISP market. So I get that market for them. Wireless ISPs really like MikroTik because of the price, and they often have dual power options that may be more friendly to the way they have things set up at like remote sites and towers, etc. So there's a certain niche of popularity that MikroTik has, but it isn't something I see a lot of in the IT MSP space, except for these weird niches. One of our staff used to work for a company that deployed a lot of it in the hospitality. So there are, like I said, back to niche use cases that are very popular. But I wouldn't necessarily call them overly mainstream, but there are companies that have doubled down and built at the data center level with MikroTik. So it's not non-existent. It's just niche. When are we going to do Tom Roast Your Rack videos? Pretty soon. Me and Matt are going to talk about that. Throw it on a to-do list because I think that's kind of fun to set up a, let's review all the racks and we'll talk about Homelab setups. I always have a fun time going into, Matt asked me a question today and I dropped it all on him. He's like, so what subreddits do you wander around in, Tom? And I'm like, oh, let me show you all the Homelab subreddits that I go and peruse because I'm not always commenting, but I'm going and looking at people's setups and I'm always interested in that stuff. It's like, hey, I want to see what people are doing. I'm over there. And matter of fact, a discussion I had today, which is probably still going. And I completely believe this when people were talking about, let me find it. There we go. I had shared some things over in the Reddit self-hosted. And it's funny because it took a while to go there. Someone got downvoted it. Someone says, this is great. I don't know why the post was downvoted. Further evidence the sub is not about self-hosting. Because if you made a post saying Tailscale Cloudflare, upvotes and it would hit the front page. And I feel a lot of people push for Cloudflare tunnels. And while I did do a video and I think they're cool and they solve a problem, I'm not big on pushing proprietary technologies. I did it because a lot of people had asked, and I think it's a really good solution. And commercially, I think it's a great solution, but I'm such a really love of self-hosted. That's like my ethos is what's open source, what's self-hosted, what do I have full control over? And I think that's where I always lean towards all the different software that I use or any of the things I want to kind of promote for free, unsponsored is things that you have access to, you, the audience, you can go download it, you can set it up. That matters a lot more to me. How do you see Synology moving forward? It seems they need a hardware update. The software is great. No, they choose the most reliable hardware. That's one of the reasons Synology does what they do. A lot of gear doesn't have to be cutting edge. It has to be ultra reliable. And to me, Synology fits the bill for ultra reliable. I just don't have problems with the Synologies we deploy, even in the enterprise space. And we deploy a lot of them. We've sold a lot of Synologies to businesses. I was learning pfSense, but it's still hard just because internet, you need to allow it in some places and other places. Gonna work hard to understand. Well, I wish you the best of luck in that. Yeah, MikroTik really got its foothold in the WISP. They have been around a long time. I did a Wi-Fi link back in the night. Oh yeah, they have been around forever. Things like NetPower have ports. So they do. Yeah, things like the NetPower have ports in PoE. Yeah, there's, like I said, there's all kinds of niches for them. You're thinking about going from FortiGate to Palo Alto? That does sound like an upgrade there. Palo Alto is pretty popular. I'm not intimately familiar with their stuff, but it does, from everyone I've talked to that uses it, say they work really, really well. So Blue Sky was having problems. Lots of technical difficulties today. Matter of fact, to drill down more specifically, even in Toledo, we had someone knocked down some fiber lines. And we were in our management meeting. Jason got a call. The local news has him on speed dial. So when they need some technical expertise for, hey, something dealing with the internet broke, Jason will jump on and give a couple sound bites to the local news stations. But someone ran over some poles and some stuff got knocked over, and the internet went down in a big area. Nextcloud is about to launch a direct competitor to MS Teams and is entirely open source. They're just not popular. There are alternatives to things like Slack. I think it's Rocket Chat is one of them. But the problem with using them that I ran into is, as heavy as Slack is, I remember when I first started trying to use Rocket Chat, I almost found it heavier at the time. Goes back a number of years. But the second problem is the interoperability. We use Slack because we don't like Teams, but we use Teams sometimes because we are integrated with other clients who are using Teams. So as cool as that is, the integration is going to be kind of the challenge of how do you bridge, because the protocols, you can't just bridge from one to another. Maybe there'll be a future when you can, but interoperability is not Microsoft's strong point. It's usually like product lock-in as there is. If you buy their flash stations and some of their higher end models, they get really fast. If you're looking at their smaller, especially the desktop models, they're not particularly fast. But if I look at and this is kind of an in between here. Let me log into my other Synology. Like I always forget the model, so I'm logging into it. RS1221. The RS1221 I have, for what I run on it, which is like my backups and things like that, it works great. I get no complaints. Like, backups work great. It's solid for doing that, and it fits its use case. And what does an RS221 go for now? It's like, this is the one I have, and it's a $1,200. Works perfectly fine. No, that processor does not score particularly high. It is an AMD processor, but I have found it to be an absolutely adequate system to run. I run MB on it. This is serving up some media, backing up some things, but yeah, it's worked really well. Matt just sent me a message. He's used Rocket Chat as well before, so it's pretty neat. It's a pretty cool product. Yeah, we've used some of the flash stations. I did a video review on the Synology. I remember the model. Is it 3200? It's not the UC, but it's the other model that has the dual controllers. But I've reviewed the dual controller models, and we've sold them to clients. We've sold them as a solution. I think they make a really affordable choice that has good performance for what they cost. I say what they cost because when you talk about my solutions we provide via Synology and their high availability, I think it's good. And it's not playing the same game, though, when you look at the high availability server we sell that will be from IX Systems. When we sell the IX Systems servers, you're talking about a server that might be $60,000-$70,000 versus the Synology in the $20,000 to $30,000 range. So there is a price difference. And of course, the performance isn't quite as good, but I think it's good enough for a lot of people's use case. You like NetApp? Like I said, we never resold NetApp. We usually are doing the like TrueNAS. I've been a TrueNAS reseller for a long time. We currently use S8-3400 as our primary VM storage. It's solid, just not uber fast. Yeah, it's reasonable. Yeah, so this was a discussion people were arguing about the other day. I'm still on the old one because if there's things I need that aren't in there, it depends on the client. In our business environments, it's more likely that Windows is handling the DHCP for most of the business equipment, but there might be a guest network being handled by pfSense. Guest networks are pretty simple most of the time. Hand out some IPs. Here you go, folks. But if you have more advanced use cases, and that you're going to have to use the older ISC one until it gets feature complete. Now, the new beta of PFSense has a lot of updates to the Kia DHCP. But the current version 2403 just doesn't have those. Yeah, I mean, any of the proprietary companies, what was the one that has a weird name that HP owns? We've dealt with that one, man. That one was just stupid to deal with. Like, it didn't perform particularly well, and it turned out to be they had the licenses, but someone didn't activate them properly. So that was part of the performance problem, which just had me scratching my head. Because it's like, hey, the feature's here, but the license only lets you turn this feature or that feature on. I don't use any NAC solution right now, and Packet Fence is probably the only one I can think of that's popular out there. What's better, firewall, PFSense, or Edge router? Oh, definitely PFSense. PFSense has way, way, way more features than the Edge router. The Edge routers, I mean, they're still floating around out there. They're not dead yet, but I don't think there's a long life left in them. They're pretty basic. They get things done, but yeah, they're not not even on the same category of features as PFSense. Thanks for the live stream. I'll be here at work in Taiwan now. Okay, so awesome. On the other side of the planet, we had someone from Netherlands earlier, and now we have someone all the way from Thailand. Taiwan. Do you work with load balancers? HA proxy. Matter of fact, a project we just completed was we replaced, I believe they were using Kemp. I don't know. I messaged Jason about doing a project videos. I was only partial on the project. Jason did the finishing touches, and I know HA proxy is what they're using now, but I think previously they were using Kemp. I don't do like my daily consulting doesn't always fall under load balancers. So because it's not something I talk about or use on a daily. So yeah, it's not something, it's not an everyday. HE proxy does the job. So that's what we use. We have done Nginx and other services for setting things up, but it's a more niche. It's not, we're not in that field every day. Nope. I don't care for OpenSense. I use PFSense. So no, we don't do any OpenSense for clients. We don't even offer support for it. If people say I want to get support for OpenSense, we just pass on the project. My company's security apps made us switch our lab PFSense VMs to Kia DCP servers. Old one is no longer maintained. Security risk. Potential security risk, a pretty minor one. So if there's not going to be any support for ISC, and then there's a bug found, and then they decide not to patch the bug, and then you're worried about that system because it's internal. You're worried about that internal system connecting to your network. Well, now you have a problem. And hopefully you don't have rogue devices connecting to your network, but obviously that's a concern. And at that point, switch it because you have to. Better to switch ahead of time if you can, if you don't run into any roadblocks. But yeah, it's kind of I haven't switched because I'll wait to the next version. I think the next version solved the bug I was having with it. I got to double check. Like I said, I might switch to the beta tomorrow. And if the beta solves all my problems, awesome. I will stay on it and I will move to Kia DHCP, as I know there's a lot of work that went into Kia in the next release of PFSense. Let's see. Trying to find a good replacement for our 48 firewall. I'd go PFSense, but I like more content filtering besides basic firewall rules. Yeah, the content filtering is what gets you. That's where the PFSense is never going to, I predict never. Maybe I'll be wrong, but I really doubt it. I would never expect any content filtering features to come from PFSense. So I'm not worried about it. That's not how we do content filtering. We do it all on the endpoint. And the reason we do it on the endpoint is because the endpoints, especially at least the market we work in, out of the 70 companies or so that we service, the majority of them have split work from home / work in the office. So the endpoint's not always behind the same firewall. So why even bother with trying to do it at the firewall? Do it at the endpoint and away you go. I don't have a go-to web application firewall because I don't really run a bunch of web applications that need a firewall. Once again, not something we do much of. Usually for us, it's setting up VPNs, it's setting up networking. We're not necessarily trying to figure out the best web application firewall because we're not web applications DevOps engineers. Hey, from the UK. Genuine question. I have 3 data center locations that I want to tunnel specific traffic over VPN. Should I do this manually using WireGuard or set up specific routes or NetBird? I mean, NetBird's cool when you don't have static IP addresses and you're wandering around and want to be able to get access. I like overlay networks, but honestly, I'm going to guess if it's data center, it's not DHCP. Therefore, WireGuard's a really solid VPN. You're not having a whole extra piece to maintain because with NetBird, you have to maintain the control plane infrastructure. You have to update it. You have to set that and run it somewhere. With WireGuard, you're building implicitly the routes that you need, and then you can define any of the data you want to go across those routes. End of story. So I would definitely go WireGuard for that. And what hypervisor type 1 do you offer to your clients? Mostly, I mean, we still have a lot of clients on ESXi. Some stayed with it, some paid the license fees, and that's life. But XCP&G has been our go-to that we offer. Matter of fact, the data center project where you completed, where I just mentioned the proxy we're using for balancing is HA proxy. That's all running on a bunch of XCP&G servers. Do you install the same content filter on all the endpoints? We use a company called Zorus, Zorus. You can find a video here. They did sponsor a video that went on my channel. No, we don't install it on servers because I don't think content filtering belongs on servers. If you need content filtering on the server, you have other problems you should be concerned with. I do need another drink, though. That is my concern. So I have a video I'm going to throw up on the screen here as soon as I figure out where I put it. The Be Right Back video. There we go. I found it. I know Matt was getting ready to click on it in the back end. Actually, where did it go? Oh, wait. There you go. All right. All the comments I missed. Let me catch back up. Let's see. Any tips on separating IoT? Ooh, hold on. What do we have here? Any tips on setting up separating IoT networks from the normal networks? I mean, I've got a video and probably I'm definitely due for another one on PF Sense about doing that. There's not really any tips. It's just put all the IoT devices over here and all the other devices over here. Um, the one thing that confuses people a lot is your phones and IoT device, and that seems to upset people when I tell them that their phone is they want like I use a Chromecast, so I use that as an example. People want their Chromecast, or I think Sonos is another one. But Tom, I can't have possibly the Chromecast and my phone be on the same network. They're both IoT devices, my friend, and so they go on the same network. And that solves most of your problems with connectivity. A lot of devices that use local services, they work best when things are on the same broadcast domain. So put them on there, and that kind of solves it. I remember MS Proxy before ISA server. Yeah, all the fun old stuff. ISA Windows 2000 proxy and NT4. Fun story. I'm glad that Matt posted that because I actually had run uh, when I was helping consult. This is the early days of VoIP consulting, and this would have been circa 2005. I was even then into open source firewalls, probably like IP Fire or something like that at the time. Or no, it would have been IP Cop before it forked to IP Fire in MonoWall, which was eventually PF Sense. I had actually done some consulting and installed those to replace some of the Microsoft firewalls because the VoIP systems didn't work well. Microsoft would have connection limitations. So we would solve some of the problems by putting in those firewalls. So it was always kind of a fun thing to do. I see your point about content filtering means bigger problems. But isn't it still a good idea to filter traffic that leaves the server? It could be an early warning sign. Well, you can do egress filtering on a server. That works too. So you can put in your threat feeds and things like that to block like C2. We block Tor, for example, so that there's less connections reaching out. But that's kind of a cat and mouse game. If you want to go crazy and make your life a little bit more difficult, it can be done. Back to difficult. And I might do a video on this as a topic. You can do full egress filtering and implicitly list only what that server can talk to. That's tricky though. So yeah. Smartwatch, tablet, TV, low, everything IoT. Yes. So then would your computer be on the IoT network if you want to mirror your screen to a TV? I mean, I don't look, people overthink the Chromecast as a threat. And I say Chromecast, like I said, because I have one and it's a good example. The likelihood that Google will take your Chromecast, turn it into an evil device, and attack you from the inside of your network, the probability feels extremely low that that will happen. The more likely threat scenario is definitely someone sending you a phishing link. The likelihood that your Chromecast will become the attacking device or any of the, I mean, granted, there's probably some weird off-brand ones that are by less than reputable companies, but the more popular screen mirroring things are not the likely attack vector. Because by the way, if I drop someone who is very skilled on my network, like they have, let's say, a good box on my network where they can really dig into things, what are they going to get? And that's because I take the time to harden each one of my systems. Just because they're on the inside of the network doesn't mean all the ports are open. I still lock down things like even my NFS servers for storage or on their own storage VLAN. Then my computer is connected over SMB, but there's also a complicated password on it. And I keep my SMB shares patched and up to date. So if you dropped on my network, what are you going to get? What are you going to pivot to? You have to find something that I didn't patch. And I lock everything down. I try to keep everything patched. So I don't see it as the big risk that people seem to they worry too much about it, I would say. Example of why server, we have a copy of Sage, runs via RDP, session on host. Well, I mean, that's an RDP server. That's not exactly so we're RDP gateways are still, I mean, technically servers. So yeah, you might want to run the protection tools on that. I think servers like your domain controller. By the way, I hope your RDS gateway is not also your domain controller. That would be bad. So server, we'll use server loosely here and say domain controller, file server, no. RDP sessions coming into it and people working off of it, yeah, you probably want some filtering on there if you allow them to have internet on that device. Like if you allow them to open up the browser. Greetings from Latvia, MakerTech device, home of the MakerTech. You know, it's a cool looking country too. Someone told me it looks like Shrek would live there because it's like all like I've seen a lot of pictures of it. I met a few people from there. It does seem like just a pretty cool place to live. What is your personal opinion, good, bad, or other, for Zimbra or Carbino CE as a mail solution for big clients? They need a lot of care and feeding to do that. If you look up what this, I can't remember the name of the software right now, but Vates uses it for their mail. There's some tools out there that work pretty good for being able to host your own mail. But any tool you use, there's always the maintenance and care and feeding you really have to be on top of with these, because if you don't keep them patched, there's been numerous, I remember seeing Zimbra several times being exploited, and it's because people don't tend to patch them. I find a lot of people, this is not all people at all, but they're going, I don't want to pay Microsoft money. Awesome. That's fine. I get that. I feel the same way. I don't think, though, those are the same people that go, well, I don't want to pay any recurring costs. Email shouldn't have recurring costs. So what they'll do is they'll set up a server and they set it and forget it, and then they don't patch it. And I think that's where most of the problems start coming in, is to set it and forget it. So as long as you price it with maintenance, I think it's a better idea. But it's not you can't just sell these things one time, because they need updates. They need to be managed to stay secure. I don't know if daily's too aggressive. It kind of depends. The risk is higher if you're publicly exposing things. I try to stay on top of it because I am on top of things and I'm working this, so I'd be a hypocrite if I wasn't. But when I'm on vacation or when I'm traveling and I go, oh no, Synology needs an update. Should I do it right now? I don't expose anything on my Synology to the greater internet, so I might wait a little bit till I get back. I don't think daily is too aggressive when it comes to the computer I'm sitting at, I do my work on. That does do daily updates. Because the front line between me and the greater internet of problems is really my browser. So more so than probably anything else, I'm concerned greatly with the browser that interfaces with the world and what could come through it. So daily updates in your browser, oh yeah, that's like a minimum. Matter of fact, if I see an update during the day and the browser tells me it wants to update, I'm not waiting. If it says restart this browser to get the update, I'm mashing a restart button. Partly it's compulsive at this point. Like I hate seeing it when it's not, when it says that. I took a two-tiered approach to IoT, put computers, Apple TV, and Sonos on a media network with less secure devices as a garage door opener, thermostat, sensors, etc. Currently convincing my accounting partner to get off Sage and move to a pure cloud solution. Hello, everyone. I make my own RG45 cables. Is there a better brand than Ideal? You'll find a lot of opinions of people who like one brand over another. I don't have, and maybe someone else can chime in that has an opinion on there in more detail. The Ideal cable stuff I've always found fine, but I don't do cabling every day. So fine is as much as I can say about any of that. Greetings from the small village of Brooklyn. Speaking of self-hosting software, have you heard of the Image? Image looks interesting. I looked at it. It didn't it didn't wow me as much as I think maybe it wows everyone. I don't know why it's kind of caught on. I've talked before about some of the other ones years ago. I can't remember if I really did any videos on them. I was going to look at image. It looks interesting. But yeah, I don't see anything wrong with it. It's catching up on features. It's hard to conquer the Google beast because they got billions in research behind what they do. But I'm also not a fan of sticking all my stuff in the cloud. So there's that. I'm definitely more privacy oriented. What's your take on security versus obscurity versus obfuscation? Um, I mean, I don't waste my time putting things on weird ports because I just prefer not to have the ports open. So I'm not a big on security through obscurity person. I mean, it is what it is. But if you moved SSH to a higher port, it's not like it won't get found. Matter of fact, most of the tools identify headers really well, so it's not that particularly helpful. Oh yeah, I used to be a mail server admin, so I feel your pain. Mail server admin is a uh, tough job because, like you said, people don't follow standards, and dealing with stuff can be a pain. The slim run cables are really cool. I'm assuming you mean slim run. At least that's what they. If you look for slim run cables on Amazon, you'll find them. But yeah, they're definitely pretty cool. I have Tailscale running on a virtual machine, but after switching my firewall to pfSense, I can no longer access my internal network. I would try to figure out and go through the logs of Tailscale and try to figure out why it won't connect. Because by default, matter of fact, I've never had a problem with pfSense blocking Tailscale, so not really sure. Snort was enabled. I mean, if you have Snort enabled, look for the logs there and see if that's what's blocking it. Watched your sync thing video a few months ago. Finally started deploying, replacing other sync tech. Wow, it just works. That's a good way to describe it. Wow, it just works. That's how I feel about sync thing. It just does its job. I'm looking at what the comments are on the video I just published. That's why I looked over here too. Oh wow! And someone took a look at my RS 1221 video. Uh, very cool. All right, I'm just distracted by people commenting on things, and the commenters here. There's comments all the way around. Um, there's different things you can do with SSH, but generally speaking, I don't even expose SSH. I filter my SSH ports to only allow connections from my IP address because it's the better way to do it. I don't want, that SSH is a relatively robust protocol that there's not never, but rarely problems found in here, but there's always a chance there could be a problem found. And so I don't even expose SSH. I keep that locked down. I do SSH like into my forums when I need to, or my website, a couple of the external things I host, but they're locked down to certain IPs they can be managed from. Opinion on Proxmox for large scale business. I find people tend to think it's more of a Homelab hypervisor. I've never used it at large scale. Someone usually chimes in on here that they have. I've never run into in the wild a large scale Proxmox deployment. I'm also not doing a lot of Proxmox support, so people with large scale deployments don't call me. So there's probably a reason why I don't run into them. We prefer XCP-ng, but I mean, I've talked to, people in here have commented that they seem happy with Proxmox because I'm using XCP-ng. I just don't have the time to try to build something, and I'm certainly not willing to drop a project on it. And I see that because we've had so many years of experience with XCP-ng and how well it works and how few problems it has. I don't have a reason to switch to Proxmox. And when I talk about the projects we do, this is why I messaged Jason about like we should do a video on the project we did, or I'll do a project video on one of the next ones we're doing. The project we just did was about $300,000. So when I have to sell a client on an entire migration off of something like VMware and setting up a project that's got hardware plus labor, $300,000 project, I want it to work and I don't want to hope it works. And I don't have any like qualms with XCP-ng. Like we finished another one of these projects and we've been doing them over the years at scale. I've talked about one of the phone companies we had helped that had over 2,000 virtual machines. We moved to XCP-ng. I know that the system scales to that because I've watched it do it and I've watched it upgrade over the years in a very smooth manner. So that's why I'm not trying Proxmox. But someone else, if they want to bet on it, go ahead. People tell me it works. I finally got my home XCP-ng from 8.2 to 8.3 and finally had time to play with the new XO Lite. And I got to say, the UI is going to be very nice. Yes. The UI for XOA will be the same color scheme setup as the XO Lite one. So yes. Works at least medium scale, 9 nodes. Awesome. Yeah, I know it's just running KVM QEMU underneath, which is, it's popular and it's not esoteric or strange. They're just using Debian and throwing that on top of it. Have you ever tried a problem with the UniFi iPhone app where the app thinks USW Flex PoE switches an access point? I don't have an iPhone and I never use the UniFi app on my phone, even with my Android. So I can't really answer that question. The Homelab podcast for now is on pause until I regroup and figure that out. So it has a future. We just don't know what that future is right at this moment. Jay has been pretty busy, so he hasn't had time to work on it with me. So until I don't want to just do it by myself. So I need to kind of figure that one out. And it also needs some more content and things like that. And so for now, it's just kind of on a pause. 300K for a project is awesome. Thank you very much. I don't indirectly, yes. We do CMMC stuff and CIS controls. We've helped with all kinds of them. It's indirectly like CNWR does these things. Personally, Tom does not. It's like I'm aware of them, but it's not my focus. Some people really love getting into it, and I used to do ISO stuff in my early days of a career, but it's not like not my favorite thing to do is paperwork. I know it's not just paperwork. I know it's security and compliance controls. I have friends that have expertise in it. I lean it over to them. Around 300 virtual machines migrated from ESXi over to XCP in this year. That is awesome. I just don't know the management for Proxmox. Is there a central management like XOA? It's not like XOA in Proxmox. When you build out a cluster in Proxmox, you take all the web interface and it makes all the nodes in one interface. So as you join all the nodes together, all the hosts together, you have one interface where you can do it. So in a way, yes, Proxmox does have a central way to manage all of that. One of my servers had SSH running it on an unusual port, and it worked fine for years. But then the bad guys got better at finding SSH open on any port. Shodan, thanks Shodan for that. Does your company or your own business have AWS certifications? Yes, I don't personally have any, but we have people that are, I believe we have a couple people that have some AWS certs. I couldn't answer the question which ones they are, like which cert they have. I just don't think about it, but yes, we manage actually. We have, I can't say the name of the customer, but let's just say we manage a data center for someone in a Fortune 1000. And we manage a subdivision of their business, and it's a data center. Like that's the scale that it operates at, and it's all a big piece of it's managed in AWS, a big piece of it's managed in a data center, and we manage even all the interoperability between it. We're actually doing some. They want to move a little bit more over to AWS, and we're doing some shifting for them. So yeah, we absolutely. There's a little niche. So CNWR is an IT project company, to an extent. We're also a managed service provider. That's a big piece of what we do. But we also have some niche enterprise clients that because of the expertise that we have, they rely on us for those things. So we're pretty multifaceted over at CNWR. That for those of you that don't know, or maybe first time following, Lawrence Systems is the YouTube channel, and I merged the IT company with Jason Slagle. He's president of CNWR. There's a lot more details you'll find on my website about it, but CNWR is the IT side of what goes on. What do you think about Oracle? I think I avoid all things Oracle. That's my answer. Security isn't security, but port knocking works to keep your logs clean and trying to keep people out. Oh yeah, port knocking is a great concept. It depends what we're hiring for. So I don't think we need any certifications. We're hiring for a dispatcher. But like when we're hiring for a tech, your general, I mean, people can interview really well, and I'm fine with that. It's not like we have to have, but when you have a pile of resumes, it can be good to have filters. And some of those filters can be things like, hey, have you passed Network Plus, or have you passed, certain kind of standardized certificates? Wait, you don't want to be Bob Ellison or another yacht? Yeah, no. I thought it was Larry Ellison. Larry Ellison owns Google. Am I wrong about this? Hold on. Yeah, Larry Ellison owns Google. So, all right, cool. Yep. We confirm it's Larry. See, for the reason I know it's Larry Ellison is I laughed harder than I should have at this. Someone says, Tom, do you know what the difference between God and Larry Ellison is? I said, I don't know. I said, God doesn't think he's Larry Ellison. I was like, fair enough. Oh man. Yeah. There's anything I've read about Larry Ellison. I don't think, and me and Jeff from Craft Competing, we were talking about this last night. We think there's like this room that exists. This is our conspiracy. Well, I don't even know if it's really conspiracy, because I think this is true. I don't know. Tell me if I'm wrong here. There's like a group of people that are just awful, and they meet regularly. Like there's one group is a bunch of lawyers from Disney. Then they hang out with the lawyers that Larry Ellison hires for Oracle. And I can't remember what other companies we had mentioned. Broadcom hangs out there, and they just conspire to be the most awful people possible. Like, what are the most egregious license terms we can come up with? How could we possibly screw people in a way that no one has ever thought of before? And Larry Ellison is right there with them. He's like, yeah, that awful thing you said, let's do more of that. Matter of fact, if you want something kind of funny, look up Dead Mouse, the of techno fame. Look up Dead Mouse and Disney. And I love his talk on his settlement with Disney. And it's funny because he's doing a podcast interview, and they ask him how the settlement went. And he goes, my settlement with Disney was amicable. And that's all I can say. And they're like, you can't say anymore. And he goes, no, we will use the word amicable. And he goes, my experience I've learned is Disney has lawyers that will sue Disney. Like, they will sue themselves and win. You just don't want to mess with them. They're an entire mouse supported by lawyers. He goes, just don't mess with them. Yeah. How can I make more money while upsetting the most number of people? Absolutely. You might want to track down and be amused by some of the videos Brian Cantrell has done on Oracle and Larry. Yeah, I like I said, I'm sure there's just I don't even know if it's a conspiracy at this point because the Broadcom person, I can't remember his name right now, but yeah, Broadcom's a tech company allegedly, but they're operating like any PE firm of just milking things for what it's worth. Jeff Geerling has been doing some videos on the is it Ampere servers. So I think ARM is gonna. We've not done much with it, but I think ARM is definitely gonna get much bigger, much faster in the server market, and Apple is really leading the way, as you mentioned there. I mean, you look at the new Apple Silicon, the new Mac Mini. What blows me away is its efficiency, its speed, and its price, because it's gotten to the point where Apple, for some of their devices, are reasonably priced. They're not the cheapest, but they're by far not the most expensive for the amount of output you get out of them. So that's been really impressive with them, that they have the ability to build something that is, not based on Intel, that offers really good speed, really good power efficiency, but doesn't cost that much more than, or not substantially more than some of the equivalent systems. So yeah, I think we're going to start seeing a lot more ARM, and it's slowly coming here, but Apple's really showing it can be done. Now, granted, Apple controls the ecosystem top to bottom, gives them a huge insider advantage, because the reason we're not running ARM on everything else is because software. I need the thing I want to work. And if the thing I want to work doesn't work or doesn't run on ARM, party's over. I have to go back to my x86. And legacy has a very, very long tail. Good news is the world of Linux, a little bit less legacy dependent, so we can recompile those same softwares and get some good efficiencies. So yeah. Yeah, Mac Minis, I mean, here's the thing. I got a really good deal on this system I have, and I do very much prefer to run Linux in my environment. And this is the system I do my editing on. It's got really good specs. But if I were to pay retail price for this computer, and I did not pay retail price because I have a Lenovo system and we get good discounts in there. But if I were to actually pay retail price for this computer, it wouldn't be worth it. I would just go buy a Mac, because it would edit this. My friend with the Mac Studio edits faster than me, and this system is more. So, and now the next generation are coming out, and the editing is going to get better on it. And I'm, obviously niching into my use case, but my use case is a pretty popular one. Someone goes, I want to be able to render videos. I'm like, yeah, my friend on his Mac can render videos, is about as fast as me, and my system costs more because of the video card in it. I'm just not big on the Mac ecosystem. I feel weird in it. I don't know. I use a MacBook Air, but to me, it's like a box that I use to reply to emails and Slack messages. That's 99% of my use case for it. Well, no, web browsing. So I love the battery life is crazy good on it. I don't do much else with it, but to me, it's like, sometimes I take it with me. I had to go somewhere the other day, and I keep it in the cars. I had to take my son somewhere. And while he was out doing his thing for a minute, I'm like, I can just fire up my Wi-Fi hotspot and open up my Mac, type, because I just don't like emailing people from my phone. It's too tedious. I like to type out my emails. And I couldn't I've really been looking. I want to switch back to a Linux laptop. I have a Linux laptop that's bigger, but I wouldn't mind something smaller. I can't find anything that rivals the Mac Mini for the battery life, performance, ease of use, and lightweight. But it is what it is. I think Apple's just doing a great job with that. I know they're working on, I can't remember the name of it. There is a version of Linux that is going to be supporting the Mac M series. I can't remember I don't know where that status of the project is, but I'm here for it. When that comes out and gets good, that'd be great. I need to switch to a different terminal on the MacBook. There's a few of them out there. I really don't like the default terminal. It's hideous. The default Linux terminal looks great in Linux boxes, but why does Mac have to make theirs so funny colored? I don't know. I know there's other terminals that probably would make me happier. I do SSH into things occasionally from the Mac. I have a jump box, so I go from my Mac to my jump box, and from my jump box to wherever it is I need to go. Jump box, or some may call it a bastion server. It's been on my to-do list. I like some of the different tools out there that let you manage via a web interface. I just don't like having my keys in a web interface. I'm just so much terminal driven on things like that. Kitty is great on Mac. Yeah, I've been looking a little bit because I keep saying I'm not going to put any more effort into the Mac because I'm going to get rid of it and go back to Linux. I've been saying that for 6 months. Yeah, Guacamole's pretty cool. I did set up a Guacamole server, played with it, and said that's cool, and just went back to SSHing into things. So I don't have any problem with Guacamole. I think it's great. But it becomes like I try to keep, especially my own infrastructure, as absolutely simple as possible. And to me, Guacamole represented one more piece of complexity. So I set it up. I should probably do a video on it because I think it's cool. But the other side is I don't actually use it. I try to talk more about things I use, with some exceptions. I just did a couple of videos talking about Security Onion, and I don't actually, well, I use Security Onion, but it's not like part of my daily usage. Security Onion's fun to slice and dice things up, but I don't have it running actively right now. I just don't worry. There's not enough I want to monitor with it. Do you use remote desktop? Not really. Anytime I'm using a remote desktop, I'll just use RDP. But I have 0 Windows computers in my environment. For the business, we have a bunch of Windows stuff, and we're remote connecting with Screen Connect for that because it's a commercial tool. Jeff from Craft Computing, and he's a big fan of Parsec. It works really well. He also mentioned the other one you said here, Moonlight. Jeff said Moonlight's good. Jeff from Craft Computing has done a bunch of videos on these tools. They're not tools I use every day at all because I don't have a need for them. Well, that's the whole thing. It says I'll go back to Linux for 6 months, but I fall in love with a 24-hour plus battery life. That's exactly it. Matter of fact, when last time I went camping, I still had internet where I was, and I had my phone as a hotspot. I never charged my MacBook. I went camping for like 3 days. All I needed to do was check some emails and whatnot. I'm pretty good about replying to people in email, and yeah, the Mac it never needed to be charged. So it's hard to turn away. Splashtop is popular as well. Like I said, I've been a big fan of Screen Connect for a long time, but Splashtop, if that's what gets you going, we still have the old school license for Screen Connect. Me and CNW are both, but even before we merged, we were in on the old licensing, so we get a good discount on it, and we can self-host it. But yeah, I've heard good things about Splashtop. I don't think I've used it. Maybe I used it in the past. I can't really remember. Yeah, that's what we're using still, is Screen Connect or ConnectWise Control. None of us ever stopped calling it Screen Connect. That was one of the arguments I've had with the people, and they finally said, "Fine, we'll call it Screen Connect internally." Weird problem. When I'm on my LAN connection, I can't use SSH to my VPS, but when I'm on Wi-Fi, it works. I don't. You have some rules set up that must break it. You feel free to post in the forums on that one. We'd have to go through the rules to figure that out. But I am running out of voice, and I need this voice because I have a project tomorrow that requires me to voice my opinion and put it into a video tomorrow. But I'm getting a little fatigued wearing glasses. I only need glasses to see things that are close up. So by the end of the night, these come off and I just kind of go a little further away from the screen. Well, matter of fact, usually I'm the TV screen is where I'm headed next. Chill out, watch some YouTube, and get that going. Yeah, that was really sad. I know who T-Tech was. He was, if I'm not, I didn't follow, but I seen the post on there. I believe he was a big contributor to the Proxmox, and definitely sad. Heart goes out to the family there dealing with that. So that was definitely, cancer sucks. That's I seen that. I seen the Reddit post on it. Nonetheless. So thank you everyone for joining. Almost I seen about 160 of you. I don't know how many of you how many it's rotated through the time, but thank you all for joining. Depending how things going, I might be able to do a live stream on this weekend as well. I have some more projects coming up for sure. I have the new NAS hooked up, the one from UniFi. So I've been testing that. It's all built and set up. So excited to get the review done of that. Depending on how things go, maybe I'll get it done by this weekend. I'll have the review done, but I've been poking away at it. It works pretty well. But thanks everyone for joining, and take care.